Michael Worley founded the political advertising agency MDW Communications, and he joins me now from Florida. Really good to have you with us to try and game out some of this. In your opinion, where do you believe the money will be spent most effectively? And does it have a shot at realistically getting to former Trump voters, undecided voters, non-registered voters, in short, convincing anyone that needs convincing?
That's right. I mean, the first thing I'll say is that a lot of the money that you're going to be seeing on digital is going towards what they call connected TV. So those are advertisements that are playing during streaming platforms that you're using. So including our viewers that are watching CNN right now on their tablet device or their streaming device, some of the commercials that you see during our breaks are connected TV ads. They're digital ads that are placed in a very smart way. And the technology now allows for campaigns like the Harris campaign to target very specific voters in very specific homes using things like device IDs and the IP address from their smart devices. So all of this technology is being used by the campaign, but it's expensive. These ads are a premium ad placement, and in many cases, they're just as expensive as comparable cable or broadcast ads. So reserving these ads ahead of time, making that investment in digital, that's clearly their priority, and they're running a 21st century campaign.
A 21st century campaign, the strategy does seem to be to lean into vehicles like TikTok. Is that wise? Because some people suggest that still conventionally, if you go to places like Facebook, that's still a better use of your ad dollars.
That's a great question. First and foremost, you have to consider how you're targeting on these platforms. One of the things that you can do on Facebook is you can target the more likely voters, which typically are older voters. Older voters spend way much more time on Facebook than they do on the other platforms. But the play on TikTok is really going after the youth vote. And that's always a tricky proposition in any presidential election. But they're critical this year because this is an election that will really come down to very tight margins. And if you can increase the turnout of the young vote by 5 or 10% above where it was in 2020 or 2016, that can go an incredibly long way in some of these critical swing states, especially swing states where you have a lot of young college age voters, like, for instance, Pennsylvania or Florida. It's really, really important. But the bulk of the money will end up being spent on social media where you're able to target specific voters and that really high impact connected TV streaming advertising that is really important for modern campaigns.
Yeah, we just talked a lot about the strategy in employing that money. When it comes to the ad themselves, do you have any, rules of the game that you've already seen the campaigns violate, or would you say both campaigns are doing a good job right now?
Well, I think the Harris campaign definitely has found more of a groove. They're talking about economic issues and they're really narrowing in on those issues. I think that's a really good move for them. While the Trump campaign we've seen for the last month, they really don't know how to define Vice President Harris. That's a huge problem for them. They are running out of time to define her as a candidate. And you hear President Trump referring to her as the most far left, most liberal, this and that. The record really doesn't show that. And I think that most voters understand it. And when they tune into programs like this and they get the facts, they understand that they're dealing with a more moderate candidate than some far left activist like President Trump wants to paint her as. I think that's going to be critical. Whether the Trump campaign is able to find their rhythm or not, we will see. But coming out of this convention, you're definitely going to see a greater focus on economic pocketbook issues, specifically those that affect working people and union members, especially union members in states like Pennsylvania, where you're going to need their vote come election day.
I'm curious to learn from you. The Trump campaign has also articulated that they're going after the unregistered and the low propensity voters, right? And obviously, I'm sure the Harris campaign wants to tap into that as well. How best to reach those people? Are they people that just would be better to try and reach door to door and just forget about the TV advertising, the digital advertising, whatever? Or are they people that the campaign needs to be a little bit more micro-targeted and a little bit more nuanced?
Well, these campaigns are very smart. They have very talented people working for them, and they're doing all of it, right? Television is a part of a comprehensive plan to turn out these irregular voters, voters that don't have a very strong established vote history. So they know what they're doing. They're hitting them at the doors. They're hitting them online. They're hitting them via text messages. They're hitting them on television. It's all a part of a comprehensive campaign plan. But ultimately, one of the things that they have to employ is that social pressure. The idea that you need to vote because your neighbors and your friends are voting and you don't want to be the one that doesn't vote, and reminding people that their voting record is a public record. These types of what we call social pressure ads are really important, and you're going to see both sides really play to those ads in the coming weeks and months.
And could that extend to chat groups, right? Because since the last campaign, that's really taken off.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you will see in terms of how, and specifically like with the chat groups that you have, like, for instance, some of what you're seeing with Hispanic voters in particular on apps like WhatsApp, you have a lot of these chats that are developed where it's a lot of activists organizing within the community, trying to get people on them and then spreading disinformation. We see it happening here in Miami very, very frequently. Saw it in 22, saw it in 20, and they're harder to really reach out to, and they're harder to get people to get the real facts because so much of it is being driven organically, and that's very tough.
All right, Michael Worley, fascinating. We'll leave it there. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now,